Alright, so since my internet died, I guess I'm doing the rest of this VOD review offline, and it do be like that sometimes. So, anyways, I guess I'm gonna start over the beginning and start with the disclaimer that I want people to hear. The disclaimer is, alright, I'm going to be dissecting almost everything these players are doing, and it's so easy in video, right? Without the pressures of the tournament, with hindsight, to make people look like they're really bad. That's not the point of this video. Like, don't look at these players and be like, haha, what a noob, right? Please don't, right? You really need to actually be looking up to these players who have the maturity required to, and the self-reflection, right? To be able to look at themselves and be like, you know what? I want to improve on my play, and I want someone else to help me, right? So please look at this and tell me what I'm doing wrong, right? Even though it's going to go on the internet, and even though I'm going to look like an idiot, right? And this is very important because it's somebody who is putting their pride aside for the name of improvement. And I'm going to tell you right now that is not easy. It is not common, right? Too many players, right, refuse to put their pride aside and ask for help, right? So thank you so much, DamyDoTheDishes, right? Thank you for submitting this VOD review. You're doing not only yourself a favor, but you're doing this community a favor by setting an example. So, okay. So let's get into it, right? So right away, you're going to start this match, and I already saw this part, right? Okay, YouTube is not going full screen. So we're going to stay right here. We're going to stay in theater mode. So anyways, game is going to start, and I notice that the first thing you do is you put up your magnet, alright? So, just real quick, right? I know why you did this, right? As I will soon discover, this ZSS, I assume you've played the ZSS before, right? And I assume they have a habit, right, of shooting their little neutral beam. Now, let me tell you something. Even if this was the read, that you actually knew that they were going to shoot their little stun, right here at the start of the game, this is still not the optimal option. So real quick, let me take this, we're going to frame this in two perspectives. Perspective A is you've never played a ZSS before. So real quick, right, if you've never played your opponent before on Smashville, ZSS is extremely fast, right? So by you pre-committing to this option, right, you're basically putting yourself in a bad position because this player can run up super fast, right, and you're not at an appropriate spacing to keep her away. Now in practice, what you'll see most players do on the stage, right, is because the spawns are pretty close, is both players will just take a step back, right? Take a step back, assess the situation, see what the other opponent did, right, just in case they picked a quirky, super aggressive option, right, and be able to punish it. Now, obviously, right, so with that being said, if your opponent had picked a super quirky option here, your magnet would have lost out to that. So, and if you actually did have the read, as I will soon discuss, right, this is still the wrong option, even if you had the read. Because at this, summoning your magnet at this microsecond, there is no projectile you could be absorbing right now. Because she hasn't summoned it yet, right? And it takes time. You actually, as you will soon see, right, is that the actual projectile itself is reactable, and you have more than enough time to counterplay, right? So let's just go ahead and discuss that right now. She actually jumped, right? But now she's summoning this projectile, right? Now, a quick note, right, is that ideally, you want to be looking at the opponent and reacting to her pulling out the gun. In practice, this could be pretty hard, right, to see the gun. However, you know what's not hard to see is this orange glow, right? So once you see this orange glow, right, it is possible to confuse this for the orange glow of the whip, right? But right by this point now, you should have no doubt in your mind. She is going to throw the little plasma shot. Is that what it's called? Paralyzer. It's called Paralyzer. She's going to throw out Paralyzer, right? But now let's count frames, right? This is not going to be fun, but look, it's to illustrate a purpose. So one, let's just say you react to the glow. Let's just say you react to the glow right here. This is pretty obvious that the Paralyzer coming out, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. You got, quick note, you see how you shielded right here? You're shielded in reaction to the projectile, right? So this shows me you had a good reaction time, right? But the reaction time was fine. You were actually looking at your opponent, and seeing how you're not moving right now, I can actually tell that you're looking at your opponent. That's good. It's good to be looking at your opponent, right? Now, the actual decision making, however, right? This was not the good choice to make, right? And one of the two things happen here, right? It could be you're unfamiliar with ZSS and her projectiles, right? Or you're unfamiliar to the concept of dealing with projectiles, right? However, right, okay, so let's go back to counting frames. We're like, you pulled up your shield around 18, right? Okay, so 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. I'm going to be a bit off. It's all right. 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 50. Okay, you get where I'm going at with this, right? The actual frame number doesn't matter. What does matter is the fact that you have a lot of time to react to this projectile. So now what should you do about it? What should you do with this time? I'm going to tell you right now that anytime you're holding shield for like 40 seconds, it's probably not ideal, right? And specifically, okay, 40 seconds, okay, you're basically holding shield for an entire second. That's not ideal, right? Because basically what you're doing here is you're giving up any possible advantage you had in the situation, and you're not even absorbing it. Let's just say absorbing this projectile is your game plan. You can actually absorb this projectile on reaction, right? Because of how slow it's traveling, right? And how far away. Here's another thing. You're positioned very far from your opponent. In general, the further you are from your opponent, the easier it's going to be to react to the projectiles and come and pick a good option around them. So what should you have done, right? If you know the projectile coming, you have one or two options, right? Is option A. Actually, you have more options than that, right? But ideally, what the players usually want is, okay, I have reacted to this projectile. Am I in a position to directly punish my opponent because of this projectile? The answer is no. You are too far, right, to punish the projectile directly. Now that's okay. It is okay, right? Because there's actually a lot of projectiles in this game that can be pretty hard to punish on reaction directly, and that's a key word here, right? So, okay, you know what? You're not directly able to punish your opponent. What is your game plan right now as Ness? You should have a game plan, right? Is your game plan to approach the ZSS and hit her, right? Or is your approach going to be a bit more defensive, right? Now this is up to you, right? But what matters is, regardless of what your intent is, right? Sitting here and shield, right? Regardless if you want to play aggressive or defensive, this is the wrong option. Let's go through why. Let's just say you want to play aggressive. You want to close, since you can't hit her directly right now, you don't have enough time, and it just be like that. So in general, human reaction time plus input delay, more or less 20 frames. Assuming, it also assumes perfect decision making, which is usually not the case unless it's a very obvious situation such as shielding a kill move, right? You can usually, if your intent is to, oh, I'm going to panic shield, you could probably panic shield decision making very quickly, right? Now that being said, right, so let's just say there's only 48 total frames on this projectile, which is pretty typical for a projectile unless you have privileged projectiles. The point is, you're too far away. By the time you jump over this and land, she is free to act. So you can't punish this directly, but what you can do if you're trying to play aggressive is you could jump, either land on this platform or land on the ground. You could just jump over this projectile. You can also just magnet this projectile if that's the thing you wanted to do. If you're trying to be funny and quirky and go for a clip, you can even F-smash this projectile reflected back. Don't do this though all the time. This is just I'm just mentioning it as another option to do. It is your responsibility to know if that's a good option or not. In general, no. Don't try to reflect the projectiles unless you have a privileged reflector. And what I mean by that is a projectile is either that's very low lag or very low commitment. In general, though, the game plan against projectiles should not be to reflect them. It should be to close the distance on the zoner. But anyways, So let's just say you pick the last option. You actually want to play defensive. Let's just say, you know what, my game plan is to be defensive against the ZSS. They have bad approaches. They're just gonna let me whiff punish them. That's perfect. It's perfect to have a playstyle. But by you shielding, and here's the thing you'll notice, right? And I'm gonna fast forward a little bit right here. Is one thing you'll notice is is by holding shield this entire time, this projectile's coming at you, and now she has started moving. She has started moving, and this projectile is about to lock you in shield. And right now, you cannot act, right? You can't act because now you have to eat the shield lag and the shield stun of this projectile, and she is free to move, right? Which means if your intent is to play defensive, you're actually putting yourself in a bad spot by locking yourself in shield while your opponent is free to move. So don't shield the projectile. Okay. Now, right? Then now, we haven't even talked about the fact that dropping your shield in this game takes 11 frames, right? And if you're stuck in shields, so not only were you forced to eat the projectile lag, right, from it hitting your shield, now you're still stuck in your shield, and ZSS is very fast, and you don't want to be stuck in shield. If her goal right now is to run at you, right, you're unable to space to get a whiff punish, right? You're going to be stuck in shield, basically. If she's going to hit your shield for free, you don't want her hitting your shield for free, all right? Now, she misspaced her jump. It'd be like that. So she's not going to get a direct punish here. And now you see, you're actually trying to drop your shield and get out of the way. And you're like, oh shit, let me get out of the way, right? So all this could have been avoided by just jumping over the projectile. So this is a thing you need to take into every single projectile you play against in this game, is if you're really far away from the projectile user, right, you need to jump over the projectile. Ideally, use your movement to get around the projectiles and close the gap, such that they can't use a projectile for free anymore. Now, I'm going to speed it up here. They actually go into there, they zare. You backed off, so it whiffed. Okay, that was fine. I think in principle you should have gotten hit but she jumped too early. But that's fine. We're not gonna focus on their mistakes. We're gonna focus more on yours. So now, okay, they whiff punish Zare. Zare has pretty low landing lag, so you're not gonna be able to directly punish this, right? Okay, and dash forward, dash attack. Okay, we're actually gonna watch this in slow motion. I wanted to make it a bit easier to get like a little play-by-play going. Ew, we're gonna get rid of the sound though. Okay, so she zared, it whiffed, you're gonna come forward, now you're gonna dash attack, and it is going to beat out her dash attack. I think this is a thing to keep in mind is, unless you had this read, right, that she was going to run in YOLO, I think in principle this might have been a bad idea, but it worked out though. But just to introduce you real quick to a concept, since I haven't reviewed your VOD before and I never talked about this, it's important to separate the results from the expected outcome. What I mean by this is, when you're reviewing a VOD, don't look at something and say, oh, that worked, I should do that more often, right? Be a little more critical of your thinking here and think, you know what, this worked, but what are the chances of this working? This basically only covered, right? This running in and doing this dash attack, I get it, the Ness dash attack isn't that bad, right? But running in and dash attacking like this, right, especially a player who started the game by jumping, has now jumped again and landed with the Zare. I actually thought that logically they would try and jump again once more. Now, now it looked like they actually just ran forward, and I don't know what they tried to do, right? Now, most ZSSs wouldn't dash attack right here, right? They wouldn't try to like YOLO dash grab you, right? They're gonna try to like hit you with like, you know, aerials, or space you out with side Bs or Zares, right? Or Nairs, or run up and do a short hop fair. That's a good option from ZSS at a low percent, right? But this, I don't know what they did right here, right? If this was a run up dash attack, that was not a good option from them, right? So keep in mind that this will come with experience too. It's hard to know, let's just say this is the first ZSS you've ever played against, right? It is really hard to know, well, what options will my ZSSs favor? And it's really hard to know what options your opponent will favor unless you've played against various ZSSs of various skill levels, right? And that's fine, and that's totally normal. So I'll help you out here by letting you know that I don't think it's very common that you'll find a ZSS randomly dash attacking. Maybe randomly dash grabbing, but at 0%, I think that's unlikely unless you have an obvious shielding habit, right? So this dash attack is going to work out, but I don't think it would work out against better ZSSs who will probably be favoring different options. And again, you have no way of knowing that unless you go out and find good ZSSs, right? So that's really just one of those experience things, right? So also another thing is so you need to know what is the, it's really obvious, not really obvious, the easiest thing to do when you pick up a character is go through your moves, right, and think about the possible reward you get from those moves. And this sounds super basic, and it kind of is. Like, this is the thing people will talk to you about when you talk about, oh, I hate this character, right? Because this move is good and that move is good, right? So you're like, oh, I'm Ness, I should probably, everyone says forward air is good, so I should use forward air and stuff like that. And that's like, that's a fine approach, but it, it's more than just looking at these moves, looking at the numbers and be like, huh, oh, this move looks nice, I should use that move. It's also thinking about like the practicality of moves, and that comes to practice, and there's a lot of moves that every single character has. Like, when should you jab? When should you forward tilt? Should you be forward tilting? What about up tilt? That looks like a nice hitbox. Should I be using that? What about down tilt? Dash attack, right? So it is hard. You can't just look at these numbers and be like, oh, this is the best move. And it's really hard, right? So obviously when you ask other Ness players, like, hey, what are the good moves of this character? They'll just give you like a introductory, well, his back throw is really good. His forward, he's got good aerials, right? They're basically like swords in the air. The point is, what I'm getting at is there's a big mechanics knowledge hump, kinda, when it comes to understanding your own character's strengths and weaknesses. That takes a while. Now, in order to play against the ZSS, you need to understand that character's strengths and weaknesses, which will take yet another while. And now rinse and repeat this for all the characters in this game. It is 100%. I'm just trying to let you know why it's 100% understandable to have gaps in your knowledge, because there's just so many characters in this game. But no more excuses, right? I'm not trying to make an excuse, right? Just letting you know it is okay. If everything I'm saying right now sounds really harsh, like, yeah, I should have known that, you have no way of knowing. Is what I'm getting at is, there's so much you need to know, there's no way you could know it until you just grind out the game, right? So anyways, hopefully I can help speed that process up for you, right, by giving you some insight. Okay, so you're going to dash attack, and it's going to work out. You didn't get too much reward, but I think you could have kept holding forward here. How much lag does dash attack have? Let me look at his animation. Okay, he does stand still for just a bit, but it looked like you stood still for just a little bit. How long did you stand still for? Okay, I can't tell that was animation or you actually didn't press anything right here. You're gonna run forward. Okay, now she has no jump. It is important to recognize the situation. My opponent has jumped. Now they need to land. I know it's ZSS though, right? And they still have flip kick you have to worry about. Okay, so you got out of the way of the down air. Yeah, so obviously in hindsight you picked like the wrong option here. Now, if you're trying to do a short hop fair and you accidentally got a full hop fair, that's one thing. That's just, you need to go to training mode and practice getting the execution of your moves to come out. If you're actually trying to contest the down air with your forward air like this, well then, yeah, your timing was off, right? But also that's not the right idea. You shouldn't try to contest that down air with your moves. Just get out of the way, outspace it. Granted, I know it doesn't have that much lag, but it has, oh wow, it has 24 frames of lag. It's a good amount. For an aerial in this game, it's a good amount. You have time to punish this, right? I actually thought it was less lag. That's crazy. But it's got 24 frames of landing lag. Yeah, so you definitely had time to punish this, right? You got out of the way. You had enough time to run up and grab her, if that's what you wanted, or run up and like do anything, right? But it's okay, now you know, right? Maybe that was the first time you've seen it, even if it wasn't. Now, however, there is a more general principle I'll cover real quick here. And the general principle is that when an opponent burns their double jump, you get ready, right, to like contest them. Now, I think you did get out of the way here, and this was a good reaction. So, I want to see how you apply this later. Okay, you're in a back air. Back air was really obvious. She's gonna parry up B. Oh, she had the right idea? That's a shame. The move didn't work. So, one of Ness's strengths, right, is his rising aerials. By far, the best thing about his moves are the rising version of them, right? Now, that being said, -5 and -6 is not bad at all, right? But if you are going to do this back air like this, right, in general, you want to do this back air right as down. This is pretty good though. This is pretty good timing. You could be a bit better though to get this as low as possible, to get it as safe as possible. So, but unfortunately, this was just a bit too obvious. But now you know, right? Because it's just the start of the game. You had no way of knowing your opponent was actually going to parry this, or if they were just going to respect it, right? Just so you know though, your back air is -5 and -6 if it's the late hit, and this is assuming an ideal perfect back air that you do right before landing. Zero Sue has a frame 4 option out of shield in her up B. Now I know the hitbox isn't that big for her up B. However, it's enough, right? Where is it? Where is it up? Right here. It is honestly, it is good enough. This little thing is frame 4. Doesn't look that big, and it's not, right? But right here, you actually had put yourself in a position where she could easily, right? Even if this was basically not spaced in 2 ways. It was too high off the ground, so you would not have gotten the ideal -5 hit, but it also wasn't like your back air in comparison, right? You saw how tiny her up out of shield was. Your back air in comparison, like you kick your feet way out, like this is cartoony, right? So your back air is in a sense pretty, like look at your animation. You're here, and then boom, and like you didn't need to look at this visualizer to know your back air has good range. So if you have this nice range back air, right, you don't have to do it this close to her shield, right? So you can see that basically the edge of this little thing, right? So what you should have done here, right, is like, okay, I have done my forward air. I have whiffed my forward air. Because I am a Ness main, I am going to land with one more aerial, right? That's very normal, and that's fine because it's a good option, right? And obviously it's not an unbeatable option. Your opponent actually tilted their shield up. That's crazy. Anyways, you should have kept drifting in order to space your back air to be, if you want to pressure their shield, you need to hit their shield at the edge of the bubble, right? If you're trying to hit their shield and pressure their shield, you're basically just trying to land for free, right, and cover your landing. Your back air needed to hit this circle, needed to be right here, right? And then she couldn't up B out of shield you. And then if you had actually done this back air, but but hitting like this, having this bubble, you see this the tip of your back air, instead of being on the wrong, it's basically completely misspaced. It should be over here, right? You could have actually achieved the spacing by holding forward, back airing here. Even if she had parried it, this up B wouldn't have worked, and that would have been very funny because they would have gotten a parry and an up B out of shield, and they would have been unable to punish. They were only able to punish because you had misspaced it terribly. Ironically, because you had misspaced it so terribly, when they B reversed it, you fell out. But you can't rely on the move not being programmed correctly. So usually this would have scooped you. So yeah, just basically the key takeaway there is make sure have a little game plan here from when you're like, okay, I have done one aerial. I am now landing and throwing an aerial, but don't do it aimlessly, right? Make sure that aerial has a purpose. And in general, It is very tempting, and actually a common habit I see with a lot of Nesses, is that they throw out because they're like, oh, I could throw out aerials risk-free, basically. Like, ha ha ha, nair, fair, whatever. They do one fair rising, then they do a landing back air. I get that, right? You got great frame data. Use your great frame data, but make sure your aerials have a purpose, right? Because you start making it a muscle memory habit, right? That, oh, I'm just gonna throw out an aerial because I'm landing, right? If you start throwing out aimless aerials, right, you will start throwing out misspaced aerials. That's how it starts. It's first, like, and if you ever see like a Ness main being all the way on the wrong side of the stage, they're just throwing out aerials mindlessly. That's how they're starting to form a bad habit without realizing it, right? So, anyways, obviously there's some players who throw out these aerials that have no chance of connecting as a part of like a fear tactic, but lower level players are not doing that, right? So, anyways, just make sure you're not like mindlessly spamming aerials. That's the key takeaway here. Okay, but you're gonna hit the. All right, so let's see what happens next, right? Alright, you react to the falling out, you're like, wait, what? You're probably like, what happened? Why did that happen? And you did that air dodge. So yeah, that was a bad air dodge. And the reason it was a bad air dodge, right? And what you should do instead, right? Is if you're ever in this situation, right? If you're ever in this situation right here, okay, you're now out of tumble. You now need to land, right? You have two options, right? You can input an aerial and fast fall, right? And so the second you press an aerial, you get out of tumble. You can fast fall immediately. You could just land and abuse. If you're gonna do this, pick your lowest landing leg aerial. In this case, it'd be either you do an up air or a nair, right? And just mash straight down. And you can land on this aerial, suffering only 8 frames of landing lag. That's option A, right? And you should be picking that option, right? The spoiler alert, pick that option. Now, if you're, let's just assume you're a lot closer to the ground, right? You could neutral air dodge, but if you neutral air dodge too close to the ground, right? The neutral air dodge, by the way, has 10 frames of landing lag, so ideally you still don't do this. It is on option, but don't. Just throw out the aerial, fast fall, and land, right? Also, here's option 2. You notice how these aerials say they have an auto... Oh my god, you have a 9-frame auto-cancel window? 19-frame auto-cancel window? What the fuck? Hello? Wait. How do you have a 19-frame auto-cancel window for this move? This can't be right. You know what this means? This is broken. You know what this means you could do? So, if you don't know what auto-canceling is, you know what you can do if you ever don't know what a mechanic is? You can do auto-canceling, smash, ultimate. So, you basically, when you auto-cancel, right, what this means is during the auto-cancel window of the move, the animation will just end when you land. And you suffer like 4 or like the absolute minimum amount of landing lag, which is like probably 4 frames in this game, right? What this means though is the second you input a move, you can fast fall. So what you can do, and what you probably should be doing with Ness then, is you could press down air, fast fall to down air, right? And if you land within 19 frames, which you could travel a lot of distance in 19 frames, you'll suffer literally the minimal amount of lag. Otherwise, you suffer 12, which is still not that much. Alright, auto-canceling, blah, 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 blah. Smash ultimate. Hello? And Smash ultimate, since the landing must be altered, especially reduced, aerial approaches, blah, 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 blah. Hello, how much landing lag is there for auto-cancels? Hello, please tell me just how much lag there is. Oh, normal landing animation from a jump. Okay, so that's about 4 frames, depending. It's 3, 4, or 5 frames depending on the character. I think Pichu has 2 frames privilege. Point is, right? Learning experience. If you're in this position, right? Either for any character, pick your lowest landing aerial, right? And fast fall straight down to this platform. That's your fastest way to land, and therefore it's also the safest way to land because you can act quickly on this platform. You can hold shield. now that you know Ness has a 19 frame auto cancel window, you can just down air and fast fall straight down, and you probably land on this platform with the 19 frames. That is 100% your fastest option, so do that. But what we should never do, right, is directional air dodging to the left or to the sides or to up or even down, right, is the worst option you can do, right? Because look at how much time you're in the air, helpless, and you still land. So after you spend all this time in the air helpless and you can't move, you still land with lag, right? It is actually extremely noticeable difference. So just go into training mode, practice this, right? And next time you play, if you have a bad air dodging habit, right? Now I can see you didn't impulsively air dodge here. I can see, because you can see, you're actually able to act right now, you're thinking, which is good. You didn't impulsively match the air dodge, so that's good. So I can see you had plenty of time, you're thinking about an action, you're like, I'm going to air dodge now, right? So props to you for not mindlessly air dodging, like out of a habit, because that's actually a bad habit a lot of players have. But the decision was still wrong, and I think it's a common trend now. I can see you're thinking, you're just picking wrong decisions that come from inexperience. And that's fine. That's actually super okay. That's actually the best thing you want to do, is you want to have like no bad habits, right? You want to make sure every single choice you do, right, has a purpose, because even if they're wrong, as long as you thought about the choice, right, that's what matters, right? Because it's very hard. A lot of players develop bad habits that is really hard for them to break, right? So, anyways, so now you know, right? Don't air dodge like this, right? It's the slowest option you could pick, and therefore the worst one. And she dash attacks you, and you air dodge again. That's also another bad air dodge, right? Because that was extremely reactable. It's just that ZSS did not react appropriately, and they had put themselves in the like. Look at this jump she did. Speaking of everything having a purpose, right? They had actually full hopped here and horribly misspaced in air. So yeah, they picked the wrong option. But right now, they had no reason to go all the way up here. Because what are they gonna do all the way up here? Like get down from there. She's gonna hurt herself, right? If she doesn't get down from there at this instant, because you're Ness. For all I know, you could have just jumped in forward air, right? You generally don't want to be air to air Ness. You're gonna lose. He's got literal swords, like. Psh. Anyways, she horribly misspaced herself. But in general, even though this air dodge worked out, you got back to the stage, it was 100% the wrong idea, right? She definitely had enough time in the world to react, but she's gonna horribly misspace in there. Now she landed though, but now you got time to react. Wow, that was a horribly misspaced snare. So let me see what you do. Okay, you know what? It's fine. You kept holding shield because her nair has very little lag, right? Very little lag. Oh, 6 frames of lag. That is very. Why does her upper have 5 frames of landing lag? You know. Bowser just lands. If Bowser just lands, he just fast falls to the ground. He suffers 5 frames of landing lag just for existing. Oh my god. Anyways, she has 6 frames of landing lag. We're talking about ZSS here, not Bowser. So ZSS, she's gonna land. You know what? That's pretty fast. She has pretty low landing lag, so you just have to keep holding shield. That's fine. That's actually fine. And she hits you with the run-up fair. That's actually her first run-up fair of the whole game, right? So, you actually didn't have time to react to this, right? So that move comes out pretty quick, right? So basically, as soon right here, you had to guess, right? So you can see, by the time she jumps into the air, the first kick comes out, the second kick came out, you press jump. You actually had no way. You pressed that jump a while back. This is fine, right? And when I say this is fine, like, yeah, you got hit. But the thing to keep in mind is that rising aerial she did, that rising fair, is unreactable, right? And you had jumped not knowing that an attack was going to be there, right? And that's fine. You had no way of knowing that attack was going to be there. That's part of the mix-up game, right, at close range. And that's why being close range against an opponent is really hard, because the options they pick are unreactable. While this is probably, like, when you sit down thinking, you're like, well, yeah, duh, right? What you need to consider is integrate rising aerials into your game plan, because rising aerials are unreactable not just for ZSS. This is a fundamental principle, right? Is that staying grounded is really important because when you're grounded, you have access to all your grounded moves and your shield, and you have access to your run-up rising aerials. This is a key point a lot of players forget, and maybe you already know this, and I'm sorry, but I just thought it'd be relevant because this is the first rising aerial I've seen, is that the rising aerial is unreactable, and as such, you need to value that very highly in any character you play. Is what if you have a good rising aerial, try to use it, because that could be super hard to deal with, right? Especially if it's a safe rising aerial or a combo starter rising aerial. And luckily, your character actually has a good rising aerial with forward air, right? So keep that in mind. Even sometimes Nair, but that's more of a get off me. But the forward air is a very nice rising aerial, but you can see -10 on shield, very bad falling aerial. And maybe you already knew that, right? But just keep it in mind, right? So she hit you with the first rising aerial, right? This, I'm not gonna lie, ZSS rising, the run up forward air could be pretty hard to space around. Like, you need to, like, be playing way away from her, right? Or you shield it and she crosses you up and you can't explicitly punish it, right? Depending on your character, there are ways of dealing with it. I'm not trying to say like, wow, it's an infallible option, unbeatable, all ZSSs are carried, and if by just spamming this one move, it's unbeatable. No, that's not what I'm trying to say at all. There's always counterplay, always. Anyways, so now you're gonna fare, why did you fare here? Let me see. I'm not sure why you fared right here. So, I mean, last time you air dodge, at least this time you didn't air dodge. But I'm not sure about this fair. I think you could have just drifted towards the ledge. But obviously she's not actually going to punish it. I'm going to grab that ledge. Okay, she's down smashing 1,000 miles away. I don't know if she's reading a roll, but you're not going to roll. Oh, you tried to pick fire here. Okay, so you see there's a good amount of distance between you and your opponent, right? So I can see why you would think. So you're like, oh, I've got the space for a PK fire. Oh, first you shielded. Why did you shield? Okay, so you could see her. So you should have reacted to this. But okay, I neutral get up. She can now act. Not sure why you flashed your shield real quick. That slowed you down significantly. Now, it might look like I'm nitpicking here, but flashing your shield like this wasted valuable time, right? Valuable time you could have spent running forward, spacing yourself, or even summoning a PK fire, right? If you had just stood there, and like, if you had Unga Bunga got up and PK fire, it probably would have hit her. But because you held shield for like 4 frames, 4 or 5 frames, then you dropped it, then you thought about PK firing, that whole process gave her time. After this down smash right now, right? So as your neutral get upping, alright, so right now you pressed neutral get up, right? So during your neutral get up, there's a lot of time you can't act, right? Well, you're going through an animation, right? This isn't to say neutral get up's bad, and not at all. We're not talking about how good or bad neutral get up is. It's kind of good when used correctly, right? And that's the thing about all edge options, right? It's a mix-up game. Now, we're gonna go to stats. I'm only going to this so you can become familiar with like when and why to use this, right? So when you neutral get up, as you can see, wow, almost all neutral get ups in the game are 33 frames long. Who is privileged? Pac-Man? That's disgusting. Samus? Disgusting. So some of these neutral get ups have better frame data than they should. That makes timing it a little quirky. But point is, 33 frames. You see this? 1 through 33 frames. That is a long time. That's like half a second. And so the second you decide, I'm going to neutral get up, look at your opponent. You have no reason to look at yourself. So you should have immediately looked at your opponent. Wow, is this snapping condescending? I'll never do it again. Right? But I actually, like, I snap to myself a lot when I'm like talking about the game and stuff. to help visualize snappy decisions. I probably should not snap though. It's kind of cringe. Anyway, so you neutral get up. Right, so now you're going through the animation. Look at your opponent. They are choosing to down smash. Right? So now you're like, oh, they inputted down smash. They're going to be stuck by the time. Maybe, oh, also here's another thing. Maybe it's easy for me to say this due to familiarity with the character. This familiarity will come with time. So don't feel so bad. I don't know if you feel bad. You probably don't. That's fine. But just in case you do. Okay, so you neutral get up. You should be looking at your opponent like, okay, now we are both able to act. And that's what you can see. It, right there, both of you were neutral because she was actually stuck in lag. You were stuck in lag until right there, and now you made yourself laggy again. Right? So anyways, then you drop shield. Got grabbed. It'd be like that. You drop shield, peek your fire. Have the game plan at the ledge. So spend some time, think about this situation. This is actually a really common situation, right? Where you're at the ledge, your opponent is standing right here. Think about options you have. Think about what you jumping would cover, what your opponent has to do to punish it. What does your opponent have to punish it? Now, I'm going to give you overly simplified advice, but it's still pretty good, right? But just obviously, it's always a mix-up game. But in general, as a general advice for ZSS, don't neutral get up, don't roll get up, don't get up attack, just ledge jump. In order for her to cover the ledge jump, she has to like try to read it with like a fair, and she's not going to get too much reward out of it. That fair is just going to like knock you back. You're like, okay, whatever, I'll grab the ledge again. I'm going to jump get up again. Oh, I got hit. But the fair, that's fine. If she down smashes your neutral get up, you die at 20 or 30 or 40, right? So just ledge jump against ESS is the general advice, and because she doesn't get too much reward, so she has to read the timing of your ledge jump, right? And she doesn't get too much reward. Now there's a chance that she could randomly down smash, and there's a 1 or 2 frames or something really small where the ledge jump gets caught by the down smash, but it is a complete lucky fluke of a guess, right? You take those odds, whereas if you neutral get up, it is super reactable. It is so easy for her to time the down smash, right? So don't do it. How many frames is down smash active for? It's active for like 4. Okay, so it's, down smash is active for 5 frames. You see this? 5 frames. So it's actually stupid easy to cover neutral get up. So don't do it. That's going to sum that up. Oh, also think about ledge trap situations, right? Against any character you fight, you'll have to do a similar thought process I just walked you through about ZSS, about why you should ledge jump. Is the same thing you should do against a lot of other characters, and think about, okay, if I ledge jump, what can happen? What is my... And then, once you think about the in theory, you could go into the in practice and see what option your opponent keeps going for to cover, right? Like if your opponent, obviously if ZSS starts hard calling out your ledge jump with an up smash, right? Or something crazy like that over and over again, obviously don't take 150% at the ledge because you picked ledge jump every single time and ZSS covered it every single time. Obviously don't do that. But until proven otherwise, you should probably ledge jump. Until your ZSS player proves to you, I have some insane punish for this, bro. Okay. So you got grabbed. Okay, so I'm not a fan of this option. Specifically because if she had just shielded here, the only way your forward air is punishable is if someone shields it and if you do it falling, right? Now, no, if let's just say, okay, so you have picked, so your opponent has put you in disadvantage. All right, we're gonna start with that. Okay, that's fine. It happens to the best of us, right? You must now pick an option, right? Your options available to you are jump, air dodge, or do nothing at all. sorry, jump, air dodge, attack, or just drift away, right? And as long as you drift away, you'll always have access to those 3 options. Now you have picked attack. That's fine. You know what? That's fine, right? It's valid every once in a while. It is a mix-up, right? That's not the problem here. The problem here is what you chose to attack with and the spacing. The intent of the move is questionable. Because if the intent was, I need to stop my ZSS from jumping up into the air and hitting me, well, then forward air isn't even your fastest option there, right? If your intent was to swat Zero Suit Samus out of the air, this coming out frame 8 and being in front of you isn't the fastest option, right? This Nair, as you can see, is more favorable because it covers more of your body and it comes out a more favorable diagonal downwards angle, right? And it comes out faster and it's still active, right? So it could have accomplished everything Fair did, but better. Second thing you did wrong is you didn't even fast fall, right? If you had inputted fast fall, right? You didn't input fast fall, right? Did you? It's hard to tell. And okay, I'm gonna watch it at full speed so I can see if you fast fell. I'm pretty sure you didn't, though. Yeah, you didn't fast fall. So if you're gonna come down aggressively, you want to fast fall, right? To maximize your chances, like you've already committed, right? So maximize your chances of hitting your opponent by coming down with a fast fall. You also land on the ground quicker, like it accomplishes that purpose. So if your intent was to swat your opponent out of the air, probably pick Nair, and probably fast fall. And even if you do, let's just say your opponent had actually stayed on the ground. Now, if your intent was to challenge your opponent staying grounded, let's say you knew ZSS was going to stay grounded, right? Well, then you want to pick, you would have still probably not want to pick Fair, right? Because it had the most landing lag, it had more landing lag than Nair, and it's less safe on shield, being -10 instead of this -5. Let's just say you had hit with the lingering Nair, right? Instead, let's just say you had chosen lingering Nair instead of this lingering forward air. This would have been way safer, right? So basically, you let them, because you didn't fast fall, you actually gave them time to dash out of the way. Now you actually landed and you mashed down tilt and actually caught this. So your ZSS did have the honestly they didn't space themselves well. So you got this hit. But this shouldn't have worked. What did they pick? Dash grab? There's no way in hell that works. Okay, whatever. There is actually a small way that works. Some players have a... If you have a read on the... Some players have a habit that after they whiff an aerial, they'll shield. Right? That's a pretty common habit, actually. So if ZSS... There's a chance the ZSS grab would have actually worked. But you press down tilt, which I think was fine. Actually, in this situation, down tilt comes out pretty fast. Really fast. It is extremely non-committal. Extremely. And you can spam it. Can transition to another down tilt as early as frame 6. Yeah. This down tilt is 100% a good move to throw out. If she was in your face like this. Right? So you hit the down tilt. Wait, did you only do one down tilt? Wait, was that forward tilt? Oh, you did forward tilt. Oh, I don't know about that forward tilt. Look, this down tilt has pretty good range. Yeah, forward tilt has a bit more range. But it's significantly more committal. Like, you can mash down tilt and then, like, buffer a shield in case you whiff. It is that good, right? So I don't think this is the option to pick. Because it's, even as a get off me, like, you have jab. Like, the jab goes a decent bit, right? I just don't think this forward tilt is as good of a get off me option. Like, look, it worked. And I'm not trying to say it's bad, but I think you might want to favor other options in a similar close quarter situation. Like, I get it. It was I want to pick a get off me option, but you have down tilt, you have jab. I think forward tilt is just too slow and unrewarding for what it is. And it's laggy too. Why is it that laggy? It is laggy. 34 frames. Like, look, if you do a jab 1, that's 19 frames. 11 frames for down tilt. Hell, like, if your dash attack is for 5 more frames, you could have done a dash attack, which could have been probably more rewarding. So, yeah. You could also jump. If you do jump nair is frame 8 because of the 3 frames of jump squat. So, yeah, just a thing to keep in mind. Right? So, yeah, forward tilt, probably not going to do it. You can always just land. Also, if you're not sure about a situation you're in, you could roll. You could also roll. Obviously, don't roll too much. So you forward tilt them away. You don't get much reward out of it. But you reset. You forward tilted again, though. I don't know why you forward tilted again. I think that's could be unfamiliarity with the character. So, but that comes with time. You will become more familiar as time goes on. Oh, it's been 50 minutes. Okay. So you'll become more familiar as time goes on. You forward tilt again. That forward tilt had no chance of connecting, but now you know that forward tilt. That's it. You reset the situation. Now you know. Okay, they whiffed a grab. They whiffed another grab. Yo, it's kind of nutty. Okay, so the thing to keep in mind is Zero Suit's tether grab is very laggy, right? It come with 58 total frames of lag. It is very laggy. Tether grabs in general, right? Not only do they come out slower, right? They also like end slower. So you need to keep this in mind. If you see a whiff tether grab, just react to the whiff. Oh, I did the snap thing again. I said I never stop. Well, I tell myself to snap, right? Anyways, you need to react to the tether, and even when the tether is still out, it can't grab you anymore, right? This is actually a common misconception, right? It's very unintuitive too, right? So when you see this grab, right? So it is active. The grab is active. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I think it stops being active now. On the way back, it doesn't actually grab anymore. So keeping this in mind, don't be afraid to just run up, right? So you can actually time. This is actually super advanced. Not a lot of players do this, right? But the second you see this grab, have the confidence to run forward, because by the time your dash comes out, the grab hurt box will be done. But if you wait for the grab, if you wait for it to completely disappear like this to punish it, right? If you wait until this, and they're like, okay, now I'll go in, you won't have time to punish it, because her animation's almost over. You need to, that's actually super unintuitive, but right now, you run forward, right? Run forward, by the time it comes out, she'll be retreating, and you can punish it, right? As you can see, after the tether disappears into her hand, right, she isn't punishable for very long. That's why you have to run in as a tether's retreating. There's no hurt box. It can't hurt you. It's not real anymore, right? And run in and punish it. Exploit the fact that it's super laggy. But a lot of players don't, right? So you're over-respecting that because you're not sure. Because, yeah, I get it. Intuitively, it looks like that damn thing should be active. So we're going to step through this. Right? So yeah, as you can see, in this animation viewer, the little, right here, boom, it's coming back to her. Obviously didn't draw it out, right? But it's coming back to her. She's completely vulnerable, right, until she puts her hand up, and the animation should be over there, right? So you gotta be careful, right? Don't respect it on the way back. But you have plenty of time, right? You have plenty of time to punish it. Okay, so you didn't know that. You're in a retreat. You throw out a safe PK Fire. It's fine. Alright, it's PK Thunder, though. This ain't it. Probably avoid doing the PK Thunder in neutral. I don't think it's a very likely option to work, and I don't see many Ness mains do it for that reason. Okay. Yeah, I think you're so this grab is throwing you for a loop, right? So I think that is one thing, one of the key takeaways here is when you see this grab, you need to be very decisive in punishing it. But instead, I think you throw out this forward tilt and you're like, oh, I whiff, so you shield, right? So one thing to keep in mind is just look at your opponent, focus a little more on looking at your opponent and being like, okay, they got thrown out the grab. I need to run in and punish this rather than like you. It looks like you visually. This is pretty common. This is actually really common. Is you visually reacted to you whiffing a move. So like, oh, I missed. Let me shield. It's actually very, 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 very common. Just keep that in mind. So you got hit. So you hit on reaction, right? And you missed. So you shielded. When you should have been looking at her and saying, oh, well, they missed. Hey, they're bad. Let me run in and punish them. But it's okay. Again, she's going to do this very quirky... Hey, you jumped over it. Perfect. Let's go. I'm going to watch this again. Thank you. Oh, you don't fast fall. I notice you're not fast falling your aerials. That's probably a thing you should try to make a habit of. Just practice it in training mode, right? Is do your aerial and just flick down on the stick, right? To fast fall, right? It's strictly more optimal. Yeah, it's strictly more optimal to fast fall it, unless you're doing a mix-up. If you're like default to fast falling the move, unless you have a reason, unless you have an explicit reason not to be fast falling the move, you probably want to be fast falling all your aerials. All your landing aerials, you want to be fast falling them, unless again you have a reason not to. I don't think you had any reason not to right here. So yeah, I do notice it kind of looks like you did this jab. I don't know if this jab was intentional. Could be a misinput. Okay, so now you're gonna chase your opponent. Okay. Wait, I want to see you jump over that blast again. Thank you. Thank you for jumping over it. And for closing the gap, then hitting your opponent. Thank you. Okay. I like seeing good anti-projectile play. Alright, so you forward air. Just gonna land on the platform. She's missing the tech. Okay. Oh, that worked out actually. Just a minor thing. This is minor, and it's actually really hard to get better at this because you're not put in tech situations all the time. But so this is something that comes through months and months and months of practice, right? Is eventually you'll come across enough tech situations to recognize, okay, she has missed a tech, but you are too far away to get there in time. So what you should have done is you just like stayed right here. Right here. And now you can react to a get up attack, to a roll, to a roll the wrong way. They could roll backwards here, but it'd be super laggy, or neutral get up. Right now, just you should wait right here and react to any option they pick. This is harder to practice online, right? Due to the increase in lag online. But offline, absolutely 100%, right now, you should stand here and just wait. They eventually have to pick an option, right? If they get up attack, you can react to everything because they can't like teleport, right? So by saying right here, I know you want to up air them. No matter what they do, you can hit them with an aerial. If they neutral get up, boom, fair. Even up air, you can do like a rising up air. But this is something that's very common, that players exploit your impatience. It's actually really common for players to, either by accident or by intentionally doing so, they will actually input get up attack, right? In order to hit a player jumping up through the platform to hit them. Is actually really common. And they actually did do this. It's actually perfect. You see this get up attack right here? If you had just been slightly quicker, right? Ironically, this this worked out because you were slightly slower than you should have been, right? Then like I saw your intention, right? So you actually ran just a bit too far. Anyways, this get up attack was supposed to hit you, right? To punish you for, because you know, you extend, not only do you extend your hand out when you do your up air, that when a player get ups attacks, they're completely invincible during the attack. So this is the thing else some players don't know, is you're invincible during the get up attack, only becoming vulnerable after it's over. Which means if a player get up attacks, they're using invincibility and they're going to beat you out trying to go to this platform. Right? And it should have worked out, but it didn't, and it'd be like that. At least I think you're invincible. If you're not invincible, somebody YouTube comments can let me know. Up air. The kick. Oh, this. Do you see? She kicked to the left, kicked to the right, and you hit her only after that right kick was done. But 9 times out of 10, most characters, you should have probably gotten a hit here, right? So you were impatient, but now you know. So next time you're put in that situation, is you can visually recognize the missed tech, right? So yeah, you could cover all options with patience when someone misses a tech on a platform. Now you know. It's also not a common situation, so it's pretty hard to practice, but it comes with time. Okay. Ooh. Okay, so if you're going to use your PK Thunder to juggle, right, have a contingency plan. So you're like, okay, I'm going to PK Thunder, and I'm going to try to catch them landing. Your contingency plan is, uh-oh, I whiffed. It shouldn't be go up, it should be go down, right? So if you're controlling this PK Thunder, right, try to put yourself in the least punish. Does it work? Oh my god, I can't believe it worked out. So they completely whiffed this punish. This was the freest punish of their life. But anyways, you're gonna PK Thunder, right? I'm not trying to say this PK Thunder itself was bad. It's this control of it that was bad, right? Is you should have probably started arcing it down. That way, just in case you do whiff, it becomes the least laggy possible. Like you should try to like, by going up, you're wasting time. So make it come down. At least try to follow them, right? So yeah, this one definitely should have come down, and that's pretty obvious in hindsight, right? It's gonna hit them. You're gonna PK. You're gonna follow this up. Ooh, Oh, you never fast fall. Yeah. So this is just a general movement thing. Is your same. I saw your intent, right? Your same intent could have been better accomplished. Right here, I can see your mind. Right? You're trying to hit them. Of course, they have actually whiffed the aerials. This is actually, they whiffed the side B. This is a free punish for me, right? But you wasted a lot of time just slowly floating there, rather than just fast falling, right? So I think what you have to do is you need to make your movement with the character's second nature, right? So until it becomes second nature, you have to actively, what you can do is go into training mode, right? Every day, right? Either when you wake up, before you go to sleep, during your lunch break, whatever it takes, right? Find your rhythm, get a schedule, right? You won't have to do this forever. This is just until your movement becomes second nature, right? That way you don't have to think about it and you get the movement you want. Just go into training mode, just practice short hopping, fast falling, everything, right? Everything I told you so far, your movement needs work, and luckily though, at least, right? Movement is one of the few things in Smash that you could practice on your own, right? So you gotta take advantage of that, because you're not gonna have, as you get better and better at this game, you're gonna have less and less things you can improve on by yourself, right? So take advantage of this while you can. Just go into training mode, practice your movement by just short hopping, fast falling, right? Full hopping, fast falling, inputting an aerial and then fast falling, fast fall, neutral air dodging, everything, right? And I know like everything sounds really encapsulating. It's just whatever, anything I've noted so far, and anything you think you see other people do that you might realize you don't do, right? But for sure, just the basics like full hopping, fast falling, short hopping, fast falling, and then doing an aerial. Uh, timing your aerials so that they come out right before you hit the ground. You can practice that. Practice it so that you do a short hop, then a fast fall, then an aerial, or whatever the order needs to be, right, of the fast fall and the aerial required. That way your aerial could come out right before you land. You could try that. Try practice air dodging off the stage to grab the ledge so you can get an intuitive sense of the distance required. Stuff like that. Anyways, so this nair is not going to connect because you didn't fast fall it. You do another forward tilt. Oh, I really don't think these forward tilts are the wave. We already talked about that. Okay. PK Flash is a really funny move, but it's super impractical. Like a PK Thunder, like if you throw out 10,000 PK Thunders, only one is going to connect, right? This is 100% the suboptimal play because I understand the so this is what I mean by when I say think about the expected reward, right? That means you have to think about how likely the move you throw out is going to connect. I get the reward. Like if it does connect, it's a kill, but guess what? It'll never connect. So it's not optimal because of how unlikely this move is to connect. Instead, you could have like you kept running forward to keep up pressure. Right, I basically let her land for free. She's like, okay, whatever. At least I'm not dead. She does a quirky. This is a really quirky ZSS charging the projectiles. I don't know what's happening. Hold up. So you're gonna run. Okay, run up. You're gonna grab. Unfortunately, they had jumped, but I think you committed to the grab. Right here, you mentally committed to the grab. Okay. Is that another thing that comes with time is approach fundamentals. Is I know what you want, right? But in the time you're running up to an opponent, you actually have time to reassess the situation, right? So that's it's really hard to do in the moment. It's really hard to do in the moment, right? Because you need to, like, thinking about and making a decision, right? It's hard on its own, right? But then thinking about how, okay, now you had time to, I believe you had time to reassess the situation right as you ran. So you're like, okay, so you reacted to what you saw just a bit ago. So you saw your points and shields. You're like, oh, I want to run up and grab them then, right? But it is very unlikely that an opponent would just sit there and hold shield, right? So while I understand the game, I understand the thought process, right? So you saw the shield, so you thought about it, you decided, well, I'm gonna go grab it. That's good, right? But unfortunately, it didn't work out because the rest of the situation is, well, you're so far away from her, right? That you need to think about where your opponent's going to be by the time you get there. That's basically how you approach, and that's hard, right? Because that means this entire time you're running forward, right? You not only need to make a prediction here, right? Right now, you need to make a prediction, but every single step along the way, right, is a chance that you'll have to reassess the situation. So I'm glad we get to talk about these approach fundamentals, right? Because this showcases a very common player mistake. You did it with grab. However, you have no idea, and I can't stress this enough, how common it is for players to be in this situation and pick either one of two options, right? You did it with grab because you saw a shield, but other players will see an opponent just standing here and they'll just jump and try to land with the aerial to hit them. Or they'll try to just dash attack where they are now, right? So basically you're playing in, how do I say this? You're assessing a situation for what it is at this time slice, but you need to think about it. You need to really force yourself to think into the future, right? And this is really something that comes with time, and a lot of players struggle with this, right? A lot of players struggle with this. So, and I know it sounds really simple on paper. So you're like, well, of course. And you think about the future, of course, right? So don't beat yourself up over this. But this is an extremely common decision-making pattern that you see your opponent either, let's just say, let's give you the example of Fox players. Fox players will see an opponent just standing there, they're like, I need to run up and dash attack. So they run up and dash attack, and then the opponent shields. They're like, oh, I dash attack to shield. Why did they shield it? They weren't holding shield 20 frames ago. Well, yeah. So, anyways, so just a quick note. So just to finish this little topic, right? So you're like, okay, so I need to think into the future. So what should you have done here? This is for you to decide, right? In general, though, you need to weigh a lot of things. You need to assess how confident am I in predicting my next opponent's pattern. And what I mean is, do you have a read on this opponent? What I mean by this is, has this opponent given you the opportunity to read them? Like, has this opponent, do you know their habit by looking at, like, reads aren't like magically predicting the future. There's no magic here, right? Is how often have you been in a situation with this opponent to learn what they do next? Are they predictable? And if you don't have any reason to believe that you know what they're going to do next, then pick options that are not so committal from yourself, right? Because grabs in this game are pretty committal, right? Like, your grab has like 37 frames of end lag, right? And it only beats one option, right? So grabs in this game are kind of a commitment because they'll basically, grabs will lose out to attack. That you've got the standard triangle, like grabs beat shield, shield beats attack, attack beats grab, whatever, right? The point is, right, grabbing, especially dash grabbing, which is even laggier, right? Dash grab, dash grab is slower, which increases the odds they'll lose to an attack. It's even laggier, which means this is a huge commitment. In a sense, this is a huge commitment, and what was the reward? You wouldn't have even gotten the kill. Your back throw, she wasn't at kill percent, right? So you basically did a big commitment for a small reward. And this is a general concept that a lot of players struggle with, right? Is think about what options you have, think about how committal they are, how safe they are, and then the expected reward. Obviously, if ZSS is actually at 140%, well, suddenly this grab becomes a lot better, right? Because if you do get it, the reward is a stock. But right now, the reward is not even a stock. So what can you do instead? Well, I personally would have recommended, if you see your opponent in shield and you're not entirely sure what they're going to do next, right? What you can do is you can space yourself outside. Let's go a bit forward, right? So right now you're like, okay, they're in shield, right? You could be like, you could walk a bit forward. Well, not walk. You dash once. You could dash once to close the distance and look at your opponent and see what they're gonna do, right? And that's one thing you could do, right? You could do a little run up forward air. You're like, okay, what if my opponent does a forward air out of shield? Well, then your forward air would beat it out. And if you do a little rising forward air, like you could like place a hitbox right here and retreat back to this position, and you're safe, right? You can dash forward and dash back to maybe you get a bait punish that way. You could dash forward, dash back, right? You could dash forward, then roll forward, roll behind them, right, to mix them up. You can dash forward, then jump in forward air or jump in up air. If you're reading a jump, you have options. If you know the jump is coming, you can forward air to cover it. You could do a rising back air to cover it and really hit them far off the stage, but probably forward air. If you don't know what they're gonna do, you can just be ambiguous with your movement to keep the opponent guessing. Because likewise, they don't know what you're gonna do, and you don't know what they're gonna do, right? So, take your time. You can run forward, dash back, you can run forward, you can keep running forward, and just remember, you can't run through your opponents, right? So an option you can do is you can run forward, and then if they're still holding shield because they're scared of the dash attack, especially because you dash attack before, they could be scared of the dash attack right now. So what you can do is you can actually, like, if you condition your opponent to be scared of your dash attacks, you can keep running forward, run into their shield, react to them holding shield out of fear, and then grab. Right? Because they're more likely to be holding shield if you know they're scared. But right now you don't know, they have no reason to be scared right here because they're outside of dash attack range. Right? So if you had ran forward, right, and they had seen you run forward, they could be like, oh shit, he's gonna dash attack, then you grab. Right? But basically, pre-mentally committing to the grab was the problem here. And in general, it's a big problem I see so often is mentally pre-committing to an option based on information given to you at a time slice that was like 30 frames ago, right? Because by the time you get here, it's a completely different situation. So just be able to like put yourself in the future and realize, you know what, I don't know where they're going to be in the future, so put yourself just in a better position to cover more options. Now, luckily for you, they picked a terrible option. Okay. So I see you have a habit right here, is when you react to something whiffing, right? You're like, oh, my options didn't work. You hold shield out of fear and uncertainty. It's very common. I have that problem myself sometimes, right? I try to minimize it, though, by looking at my opponent. And one thing that's helped me minimize this habit, right? It's not as bad as it used to be, right? I used to like always shield after whiffing a move. That's why I'm calling it out so much. I used to have this habit, right? And I don't have it as much anymore because one thing I learned is when I pick an option, I look at my opponent, right? So when you pick the grab, you should have looked at your opponent and be like, wait, why are they charging this paralyzer, right? That was stupid. So you held shield, but you shouldn't have held shield. You should have gotten ready to punish. Now they spot dodged it. Okay. So I don't know when you noticed that you could go in for a punish. They actually spot dodged. I'm not really sure about it. That interaction was kind of quirky, so I'm thinking I'm gonna gloss over it because I actually don't know. Because I do know that you held this shield kind of like out of fear and uncertainty, right? And I don't know. It looked like you reacted sometime after the spot dodge, like, oh, they whiffed. But by the time you reacted to the whiff, it was too late. Your opponent could pick options. Now she picked really weird options. That spot dodge wasn't weird, but this up smash was weird. So you had time to back throw. Didn't kill it quite yet. Yeah, I don't think you should be PK flashing. I really don't think it's, especially a character as mobile as ZSS. You have zero chance of hitting this, right? So don't do it. If you are going to do something like this, do PK Thunder, but probably again, not against ZSS. So you get punished for it. So yeah, as you can see, oh, this actually perfectly exemplifies why this is a bad spot dodge. Because look, she actually up smashed. You got through the up smash because of your air dodge, but because you did a directional air dodge, she had enough time to just run up and punish. So she basically up smashed and had basically, she didn't get the point of that. When you're air dodging through this opponent, is in this game, air dodge beats attack, right? And you're not exploiting how broken air dodge is if you don't air dodge to the ground directly. You should almost always neutral air dodge unless you have an explicit reason not to. Directional air dodge should be the rare mix-up, right? Like if you know your opponent is going to read a neutral air dodge and charge a smash attack, your directional air dodge through them can be the way to punish the smash attack. So you should use directional air dodge as a counter read to their reading the normal air dodge. But yeah, directional air dodges like this are really common, and they're really bad, so don't do them. Okay, you got forward thrown. Ooh, that's tough. All right, so this is a situation that's not going to happen very often, right? So you got thrown backwards, you missed tech. You know what, Chief? We all miss techs. It happens. In fact, you're not a pro player unless you miss easy techs. So you have missed an easy tech. Welcome to Professional Smash Brothers. It's what you do next, though, that defines you as a player, right? You have now missed a tech. When you miss a tech, analyze the situation. Be patient. Try not to panic and buffer an option, which you should. And obviously, you're like, oh shit, I missed tech, and unfortunately, you rolled right into this down smash. So you basically got put into her montage video, and it happens, right? But obviously, I'm not gonna go into this situation too much because you can obviously tell why this is bad. You could tell why you had other options. You could have just neutral get up attack. You could have anything except that was the one wrong option. You get that, right? But the general takeaway here is that whenever you miss a tech, take a second to assess the situation because when you miss a tech, you can't act for like 30 frames anyways. So you have no point in those 30 frames or however long it is. Don't hate me, YouTube, right? But there's a certain amount of time that is sizable, right? In fighting games, that amount of time is significant that you can't even do anything. Your character can't do anything. You're just stuck. So take that time. So that time, if you're looking at yourself during that time, you're wasting your time. Look at your opponent, assess the situation, then pick an option. I'm gonna watch this again because it's funny. Okay, this is kind of quirky. We're gonna watch it again. They almost had the montage. This was montage material, and then they whiffed. That's actually really funny. Anyways, you obviously were not expecting this, right? And that's fine, because I wasn't expecting it either. I just thought it'd be dead. They're gonna run up and do it again. Okay, what is happening? I'm not gonna lie, this would catch me off guard too. Okay, but you punish it. Nice up air. Okay, we already talked about why those are bad. Ooh. This is matchup unfamiliarity, right? Is you gotta recognize zero suits are going to be very greedy, and you need to read this. And it's actually pretty common. So with time in this matchup, you'll be able to read this very very easily. But a lot of zero suits, they like to very greedily do this flip kick. Now you might hear flip kick is invincible, and that's true. But flip kick is only invincible during the first half of the move, right? Flip jump, sorry. As you can see right here, right? Flip jump, it is invincible, right? But right until a little before the apex of the jump, right? So after, definitely when she's like halfway through the move, she's vulnerable. So what you have to do is basically when ZSS's flip kick off the stage, their invincibility gets them nothing. They're not using that move for invincibility. They're using it to get back on the stage. So knowing this, right? Alright, so knowing this, so the invincibility ends here, right? So in the future, what you have to do is read this by throwing out a forward air, right? And just throw out the forward air to intercept it. You have to preemptively intercept these flip jumps. You have to, right? Because so option A is you just stand here and you get spiked, you get dunked on like an idiot, and that happens because for some reason this move buries. It'd be like that. Right? It's a good move. It's one of the best moves in the game, and this is why. Because not only is it's a mobility move, but it's also a kill move, right? Because now it'll spike you and try as you might to SDI, you won't be able to mash out of there in time. You're dead. Very, very common. And now you have learned the hard way that move, you have to intercept it, or you have to shield it, but even shielding it's not great, because you're basically letting her recover for free if you shield every time. You can't have that, right? You have to pressure that move by throwing out a hitbox preemptively, and as long as you throw it out preemptively, right, and you kind of like drift back, you're probably going to be safe. There is a universe where she times that perfectly and squeezes it in the 10 frames that you're vulnerable. It won't happen. All right, so I don't want to cut this off just kind of randomly, but it's actually been an hour and 25 minutes, and I think it's a good length for a VOD review. I know I only got through 1 minute and one stock, but there's a lot to talk about. That's okay. All right. So what I want you to do, right, is send me another VOD again in a week. All right. So sit through this VOD, think about what I said, go into training mode every day, right, and practice your movement. And next week, send me a VOD. What I expect to see, right, is a lot of the concepts I talk about. I don't expect them to get implemented in just a single week, because there are players who've been playing this game for years and they still don't implement it, right? But I do want to see the movement, though. I do want to see you fast following your aerials. I do want to see you changing up certain options. Like what I do expect to see within a week, right? And I think it's feasible and reasonable within a week is so fast following your aerials. So that's your movement. You can practice that on your own. Don't directional air dodge to the sides when you're in disadvantage. Don't do it unless you have a reason to, right? I expect to see you instead choose aerials out of tumble that you fast fall to make them as safe as possible. There's obviously an art to making sure they're not too predictable, right? But that's the mix-up game at disadvantage. But right now there's no mix-ups. You're just air dodging, and it's too reactable. So no more directional air dodges. Fast fall your aerials. No more PK flashes. That's a funny move. And probably pick different moves instead of forward tilt when you're in panic situations. So those I think it's pretty reasonable for you to work on in the next week. And the overarching, more abstract concepts such as like predicting the future, right? That I talked about, like assessing situations and like thinking about where she's going to be and like in the future by the time you get there. That's really hard, especially in the heat of the moment, right? And the more character-specific things, the next VOD you send me doesn't have to be another ZSS, right? That'd be great if it is. It doesn't have to be, right? The fundamentals I talked to you about your movement and the options you pick, I think those are core Ness fundamentals that you should implement. But the anti-zero suit specific fundamentals, such as punishing that tether grab, or jumping over the projectile and stuff like that, might not be showcaseable by next week. So anyways, yeah, so let's call it next Friday, May 22nd, send me a VOD, and I hope to see at least those 4 things I already discussed. It might have been 5. Anyways, that'll be all for me. Take care. Go follow me on Twitch already if you haven't. Thank you. Bye-bye.